So there's a new rule. If you don't like a game and the game does not perform at your desired frame rates, feel free to poop on the game. But if it's a game that you actually like, be sure to apply what I call soft glovery, where you pretty much are taking your time and not necessarily critiquing the game in a much more direct tone like you did other games. Why? Because it's a game that is well beloved, and in your mind, you think that there are reasons why the game is probably not performing as much as or as good as the games that you've also criticized for a very similar issue. Gotham Knights comes to mind as also the technical analysis for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom in the same context, or when you look at the conversation similarly. I was watching the video and I paused it here because the presenter is talking about why they think their frame rate drops. And by the way, this is the same person who did the presentation for Gotham Knights. You could tell that this person did not like Gotham Knights. They first did that whole technical analysis, pretty much talking about, juxtaposing the game and comparing it to Arkham Knight, and then eventually lambasting Gotham Knights. But everybody who played Gotham Knights at that time knew that its own performance issues were contextual. If you were in the open world, the game performed like crap. But when you went to indoor areas, the game was performing almost pristine. It was wild. You could even see the game run at 120 FPS. I have footage because that shocked me, so I recorded that. Now the developers have worked on the game. They've cleaned up a lot of the things that were causing issues, and the game runs very fine. Even in co-op like Heroic Assault, for the most part, you're going to get very good performance overall. Now, I also understand that somebody might say, well, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is running on a much more inferior hardware. I agree. The hardware for the Switch is actually an inferior hardware to the hardware of the PS5 and the Series X. But keep in mind that the Switch is the hardware that this game was also designed for. So any performance issues that the game may have will not be excused based on the citation that this is inferior hardware. In fact, if anything, it would even cite that possibly if the game had much more superior hardware to be running on, it's probably going to do better. And you are probably close to being correct, or that's probably going to be the case. Because just recently, WCCF Tech reported that Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom runs at an incredible 8K resolution and locked 60 frames per second on PC. That's when you're using an emulator. So again, could this be that some games are just not able to work on the consoles at such frame rates because the games are designed in a way that's different? Or are some games that are actually designed for their own consoles not able to work at the very, very pristine, uninterrupted 30 FPS because of specific situations? That could also be the case. Now, keep in mind, there are other, games out there that regardless of the hardware, they're not going to be able to hit that 60 FPS target. A game like Jedi Survivor, unless this game receives major patches, which the developers have been patching, but some people are still reporting issues, the game has had a lot of issues in its performance. By the way, look at this frame rate that you're seeing here. This was actually played on my RTX 4090 build. It was wild. The game came out and the performance was so inconsistent. I was shocked because I like Jedi Survivor. I like the team at Respawn. But these performance issues that they're actually going through, in my opinion, I just felt should have actually put them in a position where they delayed the game a few more weeks to sort things out. Now, when you look at the whole picture and you see what's going on with a lot of these different video games, I think the conversation is now becoming much more nuanced, but it's only becoming much more nuanced because you have a game like Zelda in the conversation, a game that a lot of people like, and even a game that a lot of people are going to give excuses for regardless. This is why the console war has somewhat fired off again, and people are pointing out the hypocrisy left and right. In fact, if you look at the 30 FPS trending, you're going to see people pretty much calling this whole thing out, saying, wait. I thought that everyone was pissed off about games being 30 FPS last week. Somehow, the Metacritic score is 96. Why? Because they actually like the game. It's not about, according to some people saying, well, the problem with Gotham Knights was I didn't like the story. I didn't like the combat. I didn't like these things. That is all personal preference, because I could also cite, and this is my reality, that I do not really like a lot about Zelda. In fact, I could not get past Breath of the Wild because the game just does not appeal to me. And Tears of Kingdom, I don't think I'll be able to get, past a lot of the game. This is just a gift for my kids. But I wanted to play it too so that, I could just be courteous and say, okay, I gave it a try. And I will try my best to do the 3 hours that I did for the first game. And if it clicks, you're going to see me on it. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to be able to complete the game because it just doesn't appeal to me. But this is all subjective, and it's not necessarily the subject of the conversation. But the subject of the conversation is that gamers, for the most part, especially those who come out here to talk about, say, the much more professional side, ought to be in a position where they say, honestly, I'm not going to be as objective as possible. I'm going to be biased because I feel this way about a specific video game. So this is why I've lost a lot of respect for a lot of these people. A lot of people that talk about the technical side or the reviews or whatever it is, to me, their opinion now is all throwaway, because I was so shocked when this gentleman who pretty much criticized the performance of Gotham Knights mentioned why the reason these performance issues were being seen in this particular frame. And I said to myself, this is something that has me scratching my head. Now, I do support 30 FPS games. I play them. I pay for them. I even bought a copy of Gotham Knights on consoles. And I've always maintained that, our consoles are not necessarily as strong as they've marketed them to be. Some games are going to push them to the limit, and some games are going to be able to work just well on them. Unless you want for developers not to be ambitious in the way they make their games so that they can squeeze them or sandwich them into these consoles, then you can expect to see pretty much most of these games run at 60 FPS. But if a game is going to do anything differently, like run an untethered co-op, which Gotham Knights did for its open world, where I've not seen many video games pull it off on Unreal Engine, then I think we have to come to terms with, we're going to be in a position where we're going to be seeing, these things show up from time to time, where a game, if we're still in this generation and we haven't upgraded our hardware, is going to be limited by the machine that it's being run on. And some games are probably going to maybe launch in a place where they're not able to get all the pieces together, like Jedi Survivor. You're going to see another Jedi Survivor incident in the next few releases that's going to be coming out. It's not going to be the last one. I say this not because I'm jinxing everybody. I'm saying it because the way technology works and the way technology is advancing and the way games are being developed, they're on two different speeds. Technological advancement in terms of hardware moves very fast, as well as software sometimes, but the systems within which they make video games have not necessarily changed. So trying to scale those systems to meet the hardware is where we're having a lot of issues. You can't just take a game that came out in 2019 where there was no ray tracing technology, there wasn't even barely the RTX series, to somehow make a version of the game that's going to go ahead and run on all these new graphics cards and then get the job done. You'd have to have the team sit there and pretty much scale their game for each hardware class on PC, having done it for the consoles, thereby wasting years of development that could pretty much be avoided if they would possibly maybe do a console release first and then do a PC release first. This is what Rockstar does, but their publisher will probably not allow them do it, hence the circumstances within which I talk about these video games anyways, because publishers also influence the way these games are released. So this is my conversation right now. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.